All right, today's question comes from Katie in Oregon. Katie writes, about 7 years ago, my parents had asked me to get a home together with them. At the time, we were in an apartment with a baby, and our home buying option was taking longer as my husband is self-employed. I said no many times, but after being asked over and over again, my husband and I agreed. Here I am 7 years later and miserable. Yes. My parents put the house in their name with only me on the mortgage. I'm not even on the deed. Oh, Katie. They tell me that I can't be on the deed due to the fact that they are over 65 and will say on taxes. That's insane. My husband completely renovated the home, spending many thousands of dollars as the house was falling apart. When we purchased it, we pay 80% of the house bills, and whenever something happens, we fix it ourselves and put the time and money into it. At this point, my parents know I am unhappy, but they have informed me that if we decide to sell the house, they will be keeping most of the profit because they are retired and will need it, whereas we are still young and working. We have no money saved up because it has been all spent in this home, which has led to some debt as well. I feel like we've been fixing a home that we simply rent. My parents have complete control legally and financially. I feel so helpless, lost, and taken advantage of. That's it.
Wow. Well, Katie?
Let's forget all the other stuff. I'll just say this. Katie, you have been taken advantage of, and you knew this was going to happen. You knew it. That's why you fought it for so long. Because your parents, they didn't just suddenly turn into this. They've been like this your whole life, and you knew this was a bad idea. And you kept going back because you had this imaginary fantasy that one day we're all going to be one big happy family. And they kept saying, well, if we're going to be a happy family, then you have to give us this house. And your parents, hear me, have stolen from you. They have used you, taken from you, and stolen from you. If I'm you, I forget the parents part now. Let's put the parent part aside. There's two adults who are stealing from you, robbing, melting your marriage, and taking all of your money for you and your small family. I would figure out whatever way I can get out of this thing as quickly as possible. If I have to sue them, possibly consider that because they are stealing from you. And if not, if you don't want to sue them, then you walk away
with the loss.
You walk away and learn your lesson, and you and your husband lick your wounds, and y'all go on the next. I mean, this grosses me out, Rachel.
I know. At the beginning, I was trying to go back and reread. Is she living in the house with them?
Yeah.
So they're all together.
living in a house.
Yeah. So Katie, I'd move out, and I would be done with it. I would ask them, to get your name off the mortgage if they need a refinance, whatever they have to do, get your name. I would break this deal.
And if they won't take your name off the mortgage, then you list the house for sale.
Yeah, because that's the number one thing. And again, I know there's a lot of loss here from the financial standpoint because you guys have spent all of your savings, all of your debt. And also though, Katie, like you and your husband have to take a look in the mirror and be like, wow, we chose this. Like we're adults.
We chose this for 7 years.
And we made this decision. So it's a complete change, not just from a financial living perspective, Katie, but this is how you're going to basically view and what you're communicating to your parents, which is the first time you've ever done it and you're an adult. You're an adult. And this is what needs to happen because John's right. They've taken complete advantage of you guys. Okay, so John, from like a psychological standpoint, when parents do this, maybe I'm very naive, but there's like that innate sense that majority of, and I know there's like really toxic, abusive situations, right, in the world. But parents like this, Katie's situation, do they think that do they know what they're doing, or in their minds, this is the right thing? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is it malicious for parents like this in this type of relationship? Like, do they know what they're doing, or in their like backwards minds, no, we're helping them, but
no, they're not. I mean, when they say like, if you sell it, we're taking it all, and like they know it's theirs, right? No, I think what happens there becomes you owe me,
okay.
I've heard this. I bought you groceries. I made sure you always had clothes. And you see me get irate. I don't ever get mad. You know that.
That makes you.
They're your kid, of course. Like that wasn't an investment that you are owed this back later with interest, right?
Right.
I gave you a house for 18 years. Yes.
I was a child.
You made them into the world. It is on you, right?
Right.
So there is I did this, and so like we just don't have anything because like you got to take care of your parents, and so I don't want to go down the diagnostic route, but it's just a gross situation because whether you're 6 or whether you're 26, whether you're 46, nobody wants to think my parents are preying on me. are using me.
Right.
And so you spend 7 years, 30 years trying to fix that relationship because somehow you think you're doing something wrong because they would never do that because they're your mom, they're your dad. And it's a scary moment when somebody like me tells you you have to walk away because they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right? They're robbing you blind.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's hard to oh my gosh.
To shake that reality.
Because Rachel, no matter what happens in your life, whatever hell you go through, whatever terrible decisions you make, there should always be two people that the door is open if you need somewhere to go. Yeah. And Katie has learned the hard way that door is closed. She cannot go to them because they'll steal from her. And that's a soul shaking, bone rattling realization for folks.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And that it takes a situation like a messy house situation financially to wake up to that emotional sense of, oh my gosh, this is the reality.
My reality is my parents steal from me.
Yeah.
And they're stealing from their grandkid.
Yeah.
My parents will steal from their grandchild.
For their own entitlement's sake. What do you say to people? Because I've heard, you mentioned it earlier, I just kind of want to go back to it. Because I've heard it a lot on this show and even talking to people, this sense of it's my responsibility, it is my duty to take care of my parents. And if they're 70 years old with no retirement, or whatever the situation is, and we have money, like I need to take care of them because of, what they did. And they're not asking, or maybe they are asking for an adult child and their parent relationship. What does that look like when the parent is the one that needs help and the adult child maybe can provide, but doesn't, you don't need to feel obligated in that. Like what's that boundary? It's messy.
I've probably have a little bit different take on it. I can get all philosophical about it. I just know that if my mom she's in her 70s, if my dad passed away and she's like, I have nothing, I would have a sense of obligation. I got to figure something out.
I want to help her.
Right?
Yes.
The two big things are, number one, me and my household, me and my wife, me and my kids, we're whole. We're good. And so we put our oxygen mask on first. We're no good. Helping somebody else and you die in the process doesn't help anybody, right? So if you financially can't, if you are underwater and you can't, you don't have any money to give. And we've been on the show, you and I have been taking calls where someone's like, I need you to open up some credit cards because I have to pay groceries. Well, she's 66 and doesn't want to, I don't care what she wants to. She's got to eat. That means she's got to go work, right? So number one, you have to be whole. And number two, you have to draw some boundaries. And that is not whatever they want. They want us to take over the mortgage because they want to keep living in this house. No, they can move in the apartment down the street from you where you live if that's what y'all can afford.
With the rent.
That's right. We'll help.
Right.
But they're grown-ups and they can opt out of the help I'm able and willing to provide, but it's going to come with some boundaries. So the first one is you got to be whole and your marriage has to be good. Y'all have to be okay financially. And two, you all have to sit down and say, here's what we're willing to do or not do. It's that old honor your father and mother doesn't mean do whatever they say for as long as they say, even when it's abusive or even when it's theft, right?
Right.
Or even when it's going to crush your own children. That's not honoring your household, right?
Yep.
But it also means, sorry, old man, you should have. No, I'm going to help and take care of my parents. If I've got the means and ability,
Absolutely,
I'm going to reach out.
Yep. Because I think that's what's so hard about situations like this. And Katie's, I know, is a little different, but it is that idea of like, oh my gosh, like they are my parents, but when the roles reverse and you're in a better place financially than your parents, or even emotionally, you're in a healthier place than your parents. Like it's weird when that transition happens, but it happens for a lot of people. And those of you listening, maybe on the track of like becoming debt free and having savings and all of it. So you may find yourself in that position of I'm so much better off than my parents are. What is my obligation? What does that role look like? So that's so helpful, John. Thanks so much.